what do you intend to achieve at the end of this program?
Well, the focus is for the government, because the government has all the cohesion, all the tools for cohesion. And we are looking forward. The goal is to get the government to take mental health very seriously and create policy that can foster mental health.
Most of these problems that we're having, if we're able to solve the mental health problem, it will lead to prosperity for us.
The World Health Organization has said, I quote, mental health disorder accounts for a significant portion of the overall disease burden among young people aged 10 to 24 years in Africa.
It's a situation that has been very resident with us all over. It's a global thing. But if I had to narrow it to Africa as a continent, growing up as a child, I grew up in a turbulent family, and that's kind of left a tumor in my psyche. And as a growing child, that moved me out of my comfort zone, stepping out of my home to see what is happening out there in the world. Then I didn't know what depression was, but I knew I was unhappy. Sometimes I go to some hidden places and I'll cry because my father was a polygamy, and there were a lot of heal treatment and so forth. Then as a growing child, I looked around, was trying to find out what is happening to other kids out there, other people, and the sort of abuse people were going through. Going through the educational sector and everyday life just shows the imbalance in the system in everyday life. And that was what started making me to see the issues of mental health, depression, mental health deterioration all over Africa. And when you look at the rates of poverty, it's very high. I've been to the hospitals, I've been to the prisons, I've moved around, and I've seen one thing that is very, very resident.
The person that's mentally disturbed hardly will be the person that will seek help, unless the person is discerning. When I mean discerning, some people might find that they are behaving in a way they don't normally like to behave. And those people, I'll tell them to seek redress immediately. And then for people who have relations who they feel that is not behaving well, it's important they convince that person to get psychiatric help. Occasionally, it's not really a psychiatrist that you need. You might need a psychotherapist, somebody who can work with you. Most people who they feel that are mentally ill might be just stressed out, but from that stress, it can advance to mental health. So another thing, before you even go to a doctor, there is always a body, if you know what I mean. There must always be a best friend you can confide in. Occasionally by just expressing and sharing your difficulties, your challenges, and you have a listening ear who will just listen, not judge you, and then be able to profile, why don't we do things this way, why you are not the only person. You might find out, it might even much better than even seeing a doctor. Not everybody that has gone to the level that you want to see a psychiatrist or a clinical psychologist. So it's important that every Nigerian must, and I say must, have a body. It might not be your wife, it might be your son, it might be your daughter, it might be your friend, somebody you can actually feel comfortable opening up to, and that person giving you unjudgmental, remember, non-judgmental responses. Yes.
Okay, what call will you make to the government, both at the state and the federal government as regards to taking issues of mental health serious?
Yes, I have already made that call. If you listen to my presentation, in 2016, a year after I ran for an election and lost, and I was looking for activities to reduce almost the depressive mood that I went into because of all that I put, and the process wasn't as clear and clean the way I would have expected. And so I decided to, what I saw while I was campaigning, there was a lot of mental illness issues around my area. And I went ahead to do a situational analysis in the Southeast. And I confirmed what my problem is. So I partnered with the Neuropsychiatric Hospital in Enugu to do a mental health awareness campaign in the Southeast. The federal government funded it, but unfortunately it wasn't fully funded, but we did the 3 out of 4 steps I had proposed. We only did the first and second one. And those were just calling people, stakeholders, bringing the idea, telling them, look, this is an issue. There is also research that has confirmed that. The second one is to take the conversation on a state-by-state basis. We did a regional now, wanted to go down to the states. And then the third one was I proposed that since we don't have enough psychiatrists that to go around, there are students who are doing their what we call residency in the psychiatric hospital, that those residents should be spread in the 3 senatorial zones of all the states in the Southeast, where they will do 6 months call duty in one primary health care center, and that the government should build, if there is none, they should make sure they create a primary health care center in one of those senatorial zones. It will do 2 things. It will make it possible for people to get psychiatric help at that level, but most importantly, those psychiatric residents will be able to train and mentor nurses around them to be able to recognize mental illness when they come to them. Then they will be able to get a good referral to Enugu. If government had done that, because the last one was, after we do that, we'll have enough information to now say it should be done nationally.
Let's look at the symptoms. You can have what they call depression disorders, bipolar mood disorders, personality disorders, anxiety disorders, and eating disorders, among others. So when you start seeing some of these symptoms, you begin to caution yourself as to how to manage the stressor here. Now, we are going to go into how does all this affect human capital development. Mental health problems among students in particular and teachers can have detrimental effect on the education system. And if you want to destroy any country in the world, affect the educational system, it's a matter of time. Within 5 decades, that country is going to go down.